In the early hours of September 26, 1983, the world unknowingly teetered on the brink of nuclear war. One man's decision, made in a matter of minutes, may have saved millions of lives. This is the story of Stanislav Petrov, the Soviet officer who defied protocol and saved the world. The early 1980s were a time of peak Cold War tensions. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in an arms race, with both sides on high alert for a potential nuclear strike. In March 1983, President Ronald Reagan called the Soviet Union the "evil empire" and announced the Strategic Defense Initiative, a space-based missile defense system. Later that year, NATO held a massive military exercise called Able Archer, which the Soviets feared might be a cover for a real attack. To detect a potential U.S. missile launch, the Soviets relied on a satellite-based early warning system known as Oko. The system used satellites to detect the infrared signatures of missile launches. But it had flaws, particularly in its ability to distinguish between actual missile launches and reflections from the sun. On the night of September 26, 1983, Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov was the duty officer at the Serpukhov 15 Command Center, just outside Moscow. At around 12:15 a.m., alarms suddenly rang out. The system reported that a U.S. intercontinental ballistic missile had been launched toward the Soviet Union. Moments later, it reported 5 missiles incoming. Standard protocol would have required Petrov to report the launch to his superiors, potentially triggering a retaliatory nuclear strike. But Petrov had doubts. He noticed that only a handful of missiles were reported, an unlikely number for a full-scale U.S. first strike. Moreover, ground-based radar hadn't confirmed the satellite alert. Stanislav Petrov made a decision. He reported it as a false alarm. He waited, and nothing happened. He was right. Later investigations confirmed that the alarm was caused by a rare alignment of sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds, misinterpreted by the satellite as missile launches. Petrov faced an internal inquiry but was neither punished nor rewarded. His actions were not made public until 1998, long after the Cold War had ended. Stanislav Petrov later said, "I had a funny feeling in my gut. I didn't want to be responsible for starting World War III." In 2013, he was awarded the Dresden Peace Prize, and in 2014, a documentary titled "The Man Who Saved the World" brought his story to international attention. Despite the recognition, Petrov lived modestly until his death in 2017. The 1983 Soviet nuclear false alarm reminds us how close the world has come to catastrophe, and how much we owe to one man's calm judgment under pressure. Stanislav Petrov didn't see himself as a hero, but his courage and skepticism may have prevented global nuclear war. Thanks for watching. If you found this story important, give it a like, subscribe, and share to honor the legacy of a man who truly saved the world.